So, Dmitry Sotnikov. So, congratulations. It's really great to recognize you as our security champion of the month. So you have 145 published articles on DZone. They have over 1 million views, and you're pretty much doing that curation of API vulnerabilities with lessons learned in a API Security Weekly that typically comes out around Wednesday, Thursday of every week.
Indeed, indeed.
Awesome. So how did you first find out about DZone, and tell people a little bit about yourself for those not familiar?
Okay, so I live in Southern California. I have a day job as a chief product officer for TechCrunch, and also sort of spend significant amount of hours every week just looking through the news related to API security and what's going on in the world of API security, because that's the area in which my company has products. And so when I started doing that, I just found that there was so much information, so much going on, and it was incredibly confusing for a lot of people. And security is confusing in general, right? Because there's so many forces to security, so many things that can go wrong. And so since a lot of information was sort of naturally flowing through me as part of my day job, I started trying to just make sense out of it. And the whole idea of that APISecurity.io as a newsletter and community site was born from that urge to share what I was learning. And then it became that weekly theme that it is today. DZone, I've been reading DZone for a long time, many years. Before that, I don't even remember when I started reading DZone. Probably back in the days when I was doing a lot more with Java and in the Java world. And so at some point, it just occurred to me that DZone could be that excellent site where I could, since I was writing this as a newsletter anyway, DZone could be that other site, that other community where people who prefer to just read it online and are just interested in technology news in general and technology articles could find that other spot where they could consume that information.
Excellent. And what's your experience been like so far sharing that on DZone?
It was excellent. So I actually see a lot of people who are becoming subscribers to the newsletter, and newsletter has now, I don't know, more than 7,000 subscribers, probably getting to 8,000 subscribers. But when I'm seeing where people come from, I see that a lot of people actually come from DZone. So they would read it on DZone, and then they would also subscribe to get it into their mailbox. So I can definitely see people reading it, and obviously DZone shows the statistics that whatever million something views that I can see as a stats on DZone. That's excellent. That's awesome. So DZone has been a great way for me to reach more audience and to share that information more broadly.
Great. Hayata, any questions on your side?
Yeah, when I think about API security, it's always Dmitry. That's what I think. And what do you think about like current? I mean, this weekend there was a big thing about cyber security and stuff like that, and it's just crazy in China. What do you think about this? Yeah, this movement. Yeah.
It's a bit scary, right? So we moved into the world of cloud in general and APIs in particular very quickly. Like that transition. I mean, obviously APIs and SOA and everything existed for a long time, but the transition from the relatively low kind of penetration happened just over a few years, because like when I like my previous job at WSO2 was related to API management. I was doing cloud products there, and it is an open source middleware company. And so when we were doing API management, even just, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, companies would have APIs, obviously, but it was very few, like whatever, like Twitter would have an API, and it would be the API, and they would have their, whatever, their developer portal, and it was more about, like, we, as a company, we have one API, maybe whatever, 3 APIs for our closest partners, and it would be tightly controlled, something very rarely changing, right? You would have that API for your whatever lifetime if you're lucky to like really well design it, and then the whole cloud native architectures happened, and containers and serverless, and all of a sudden, within a span of whatever 2 years, 3 years, companies ended up having not one but 1,000 APIs, and not something that you do as a lifetime, but something frequently, like changing weekly, whatever. Each of your whatever proverbial pizza teams working on specific microservice keep changing that microservice, and you have that huge proliferation of APIs that keep changing all the time, and that is becoming your attack surface, and it's not something that people had in mind when they went through that transition, right? People were going through that transition for developer efficiency, to be able to serve the market quickly, to be able to scale quickly, grow quickly, and I think now it's sort of it starts to occur to them that like the security consequences of that efficiency sort of are starting to sink in right now. And I think it's very important for us as an industry not to lose the efficiency. We got here to this point for a reason, but obviously to start being more mindful about security.
Great, excellent. And last question, couldn't help to ask you this while we have you here. One of the most famous thing, not entirely API security, but one of the famous recent security things happened was an intern from HBO Max sent out integration test email number 1. Any thoughts on that?
So, yeah, that's not security. Well, kind of. It's not API security related, but it is kind of security related, right? Well, when you within the companies, it is important to figure out who can do what, who can have what kind of permissions, what can go wrong, what's your test environment, what's your stage, and what's your production, who has access to which functionality, etc. Because humans are humans, and mistakes happen, and it's very easy to press the wrong button in the wrong place, and the only solution to that is to have properly defined rules, properly defined permissions, minimal permissions, etc., etc. It's the same kind of the same hygiene that might be painful to maintain, but it's really the only solution, right? Just to define what's expected and make sure that your systems follow that.
Yeah, and I think just a follow up on that is what's kind of interesting now is with more people working remote, like communication then becomes more paramount, because then if that doesn't, then with more people working remote, then we're just going to see more API issues and security issues happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that people working remote, the whole COVID pandemic obviously accelerated that digital transformation and the APIs and all of that.
Excellent. Well, congratulations again, just with your volume of work on DZone. We knew we had to recognize you as our security champion just for all that you do. That API Security Weekly is amazing. Also has a newsletter. We've got a link to it in the chat. And we recently had Dmitry on just as our own live event. We'll have you on again here in the future. But just congratulations for all that you do. I know like everybody that reads it loves it. I don't know what we'd do with the week without it. But thanks so much for all you do, Dmitry.
Thank you. Thanks, Blake. Thanks, Heather.